Have you ever been right in the middle of an important video call and poof, your internet just dies? Or maybe your Bluetooth speaker starts stuttering and crackling for absolutely no reason? Well, these little electronic mysteries, they happen to all of us. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the invisible culprits causing all that chaos in your home. So, this is part 2 of our 5-part series, and it's all based on a really detailed report from a group called RFI Detectives. We're diving deep into their findings on consumer electronics and household devices. Basically, we're about to meet the troublemakers hiding inside your house. All right, let's start with a total classic. You're heating up some leftovers, you hit start on the microwave, and suddenly your Wi-Fi just grinds to a halt. You know, that's not a coincidence. It's a perfect example of what's called radio frequency interference, or RFI. Your home is basically a battlefield of invisible signals. I love this description from the report. It says our homes have become a dense forest of radio frequency emitters. Just think about it. Every smart device, every appliance, every single charger, they're all constantly shouting into the airwaves. By themselves, they're not a big deal, but when you put them all together, you get this really complex, noisy environment that can cause all sorts of headaches. And the folks who actually map out this dense forest for a living are RFI detectives. All the info we're digging into today comes straight from their research. I mean, these are the experts who literally hunt down this kind of electronic noise for a living, so yeah, we're in pretty good hands. Okay, so let's unmask some of these culprits. You might be surprised to learn that some of the biggest sources of interference are the everyday things we use without even thinking about it. Time to bring in the usual suspects. And first up, our prime suspect, the humble microwave oven. Yep, this kitchen staple is probably one of the most notorious RFI offenders in any home. If you've got devices that seem to randomly lose their connection, the microwave is always the first place you should look. Think of it like this. Your microwave is basically shouting at your leftovers, right? Well, it's doing it on the exact same channel that your Wi-Fi router is trying to whisper to your laptop. It blasts food with energy at 2.4 gigahertz, and wouldn't you know it, that's the same frequency used by most Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Even a tiny, tiny leak of that energy is enough to completely drown out the conversation and knock your devices offline. Suspect number 2 might feel like a bit of a throwback for some of us, but believe me, they're still out there. Cordless phones, specifically the DCT models. DCT stands for Digital Enhanced Cordless Telecommunications. These phones basically create their own little private wireless network in your home, and that can definitely cause some issues. Now, even though DECT phones operate on their own 1.9 gigahertz band, they can still be really noisy neighbors. Their signal can kind of bleed over and interfere with other electronics that are using frequencies right next door. It's just another case of too many signals trying to crowd into the same airspace. Okay, get ready for a culprit you probably never, ever suspected. Your light bulbs. I'm serious. Specifically, we're talking about cheap, uncertified LED lights. It turns out that the little electronic drivers inside these bulbs can be incredibly noisy from an electrical standpoint. And here's where it gets really wild. This interference isn't even traveling through the air. These cheap LEDs pollute your home's power lines. They inject all this high-frequency junk noise right into your house's wiring, which then basically acts like one giant antenna, broadcasting that interference to every single device that's plugged into the wall. Crazy, right? So we've identified the suspects. Now, what do we do about it? How do we fight back? Well, let's build your very own RFI detective toolkit with some simple, expert-backed strategies to bring a little peace and quiet back to your home's airwaves. The experts at RFI Detectives suggest a pretty simple 3-step process. First, you've got to identify the source. The next time you see a glitch, just start turning things off one by one until the problem disappears. Boom, that's your culprit. Second, you can either replace or filter that noisy device. And third, if you can't replace it, try repositioning it. Sometimes just increasing the distance between the offender and the victim is all it takes. When it comes to filtering, you have some really cool tools. You know those little plastic cylinders you see on some power cords? Those are called ferrite cores, and they basically work like noise-canceling headphones for your cables. You can even buy ones that just clamp right on. And for a whole house solution, an electrician can install special filters right at your circuit breaker to clean up the power for an entire room. But honestly, one of the best things you can do is just be proactive. Next time you're buying new electronics, especially things like LED bulbs or power adapters, look for a certification mark like FCC Part 15 Class B or Energy Star. Products with these labels are legally required to meet super strict limits on electronic noise, which makes them much, much better citizens on your home network.
And really, that's the secret. You don't have to be at the mercy of these mysterious glitches anymore. Armed with these insights from the RFI Detectives report, you've got the tools and, more importantly, the mindset to become your own home's RFI detective. You can now see the invisible. You get it. Your home is this bustling, noisy forest of signals. So the next time your Wi-Fi drops or your speaker starts cutting out, you'll know exactly what to look for. So the real question is, what's the first mystery you're going to solve? Go on, take a look around. The clues are everywhere.